The desperate call Captain Thera pressed her delicate blue fingers against the navigation console of the silent whisper. The readings made no sense. One moment they had been conducting routine stellar observations, and the next, alarms were screaming. Throughout their research vessel, the massive black hole they had been studying from what they thought was a safe distance had somehow shifted its gravitational field. "Captain, we're being pulled in," announced Dr. Kess from the science station. His voice carried the calm tone that all Nexari used, even in crisis. Their species had evolved beyond panic, beyond the primitive emotions that once drove their ancestors. "Our engines cannot overcome the gravitational pull." Thyra nodded slowly, her elongated head tilting as she processed the information. The Nexari were known throughout the galaxy as the most advanced peaceful species. They had transcended war, violence, and even fear centuries ago. Their ships were marvels of scientific achievement, designed for exploration and discovery, not for surviving impossible situations. "Time until we cross the event horizon?" she asked. Engineer Zara, the youngest member of their crew, consulted her instruments. 4 hours, 17 minutes at current rate of acceleration. 4 hours. Thyra felt something she hadn't experienced in decades' genuine fear. Not the intellectual understanding of danger that her people had refined into careful calculation, but raw, primitive terror. They were going to die, and there was nothing their advanced technology could do about it. "Have we sent the distress signal to the Nexari fleet?" she asked. "Yes, Captain," Dr. Kess replied. "They acknowledge receipt, but the nearest ship is 6 days away at maximum speed. 6 days. They would be dead in 4 hours. Thyra closed her large, dark eyes and tried to think. In her 300 years of life, she had never faced a situation where their careful planning and advanced technology couldn't save them. The Nexari didn't build ships for emergencies like this. They built them to avoid emergencies entirely. "Captain," Zara said quietly, "there is one possibility." Thyra opened her eyes. "Speak." "There's a human patrol ship approximately 8 light hours from our position. At their maximum speed, they could reach us in 3 hours." The bridge fell silent. Dr. Kess turned from his station, his blue skin paling to almost white. "The humans?" "Captain, surely you're not considering that option." Thera had heard the stories, of course. Every civilized species in the galaxy had heard about the humans. They came from a death world, a planet so violent and dangerous that it had created beings capable of surviving anything. The Galactic. Communities spoke of them in whispers, calling them Deathworlders, predators barely contained by their own thin veneer of civilization. The humans had joined the galactic community only 50 years ago, and their reputation was already legendary. They were said to be incredibly violent, solving problems through brute force rather than intellect. Their ships were weapons of war, their culture built around conflict and aggression. Most species avoided them entirely. What do we know about human rescue protocols? Thyra asked. Dr. Kess consulted his database. According to galactic records, humans have a peculiar compulsion. They respond to every distress call, regardless of the species sending it. There are documented cases of humans risking their lives to save beings they've never met, even when those beings considered humans to be enemies. Why would they do such a thing? Zara asked. Unknown, Dr. Kess replied. It appears to be some form of cultural programming. They seem unable to ignore a request for help. Thera stared at the black hole on her view screen. The swirling darkness was beautiful in its own way, but it represented death for her and her crew. She thought about the human stories she'd heard, tales of incredible violence and primitive behavior. But she also remembered something else. In all the stories, the humans had never harmed anyone who hadn't harmed them first. Send the signal? She said quietly. Captain? Dr. Kess looked shocked. Send a distress call to the human vessel. Include our coordinates, and the nature of our emergency. Zara's fingers trembled as she worked the communication controls. Signal sent, Captain. We should receive a response within minutes. Those minutes felt like hours. The silent whisper continued its inexorable drift toward the black hole, its engines straining uselessly against the immense gravitational forces. Thyra found herself thinking about her home world, about the peaceful gardens and crystal cities of Nexar Prime. Would she ever see them again? The communication system chirped. Captain, Zara said, her voice filled with wonder. We're receiving a response. The voice that came through their speakers was unlike anything they'd ever heard. It was rough, direct, and filled with an energy that made their delicate audio systems vibrate. Nexari vessel silent whisper. This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earthship Titan's Hammer. We've received your distress call and are proceeding to your location at maximum speed. Hold tight, we're coming to get you. Dr. Kess blinked rapidly. Hold tight? What does that expression mean? I believe it means to wait, Thyra said, but she wasn't sure. Human language was full of strange expressions that didn't translate well. Captain. Santos, Thyra transmitted back. We appreciate your response, but you should know that our situation is extremely dangerous. We're being pulled into a black hole. The gravitational fields and radiation levels would be lethal to most species. There was a pause, then what sounded like laughter. Ma'am, with respect, we're from Earth. Lethal is pretty much our natural habitat. ETA to your position is 2 hours and 43 minutes. We'll have you out of there in no time. The transmission ended, leaving the Nexari bridge in stunned silence. They're actually coming, Zara whispered. Into a black hole's gravity well, Dr. Kess added. They must be either incredibly brave or completely insane. Thyra wasn't sure there was a difference. 2 hours passed in tense silence. The silent whisper continued its death spiral, systems failing one by one as the incredible gravitational forces stressed their delicate technology beyond its limits. Kyra watched their instruments, calculating and recalculating the remaining time. Captain, Zara suddenly called out. I'm detecting a ship approaching at incredible speed. On the view screen, a vessel unlike anything the Nexari had ever seen came into view. Where their ships were elegant and curved, designed for beauty and die. Efficiency, the human ship looked like it had been built for war. It was angular, armored, and covered in what appeared to be weapon systems. Massive engines glowed with barely contained energy, and the entire ship radiated an aura of barely controlled power. That's the Titan's Hammer? Dr. Kess asked in amazement. The human ship was approaching the black hole at a speed that should have been impossible. They were flying directly into the gravity well, their engines somehow overcoming forces that had trapped the Nexari vessel hours ago. Silent whisper, this is Titan's Hammer. The rough voice of Captain Santos came over. Their communications. We're beginning our approach. Fair warning, this is going to get a little rough. You might want to secure anything that can move. Rough? Thyra asked, but she was already strapping herself into her command chair. What happened next defied everything. The Nexari thought they knew about physics and sanity. The human ship dove into the black hole's gravity, well, like a predator attacking prey. It spun and twisted through gravitational fields that should have torn it apart, its engines roaring with power that seemed impossible for a vessel its size. How? Are they doing that? Zara gasped, watching the incredible display of piloting skill. The Titan's Hammer positioned itself between the silent whisper and the black hole, its engines blazing as it fought against the immense gravitational forces. Through their view screen, the Nexari could see figures moving behind the human, ship's windows beings working calmly in conditions that would have killed any other species in the galaxy. Silent whisper, we're deploying rescue cables, Captain. Santos announced. Once we've got you secured, We're going to pull you out of this gravity well. It's going to be a wild ride. Magnetic cables shot out from the human ship and attached to the Nexari vessel with precise accuracy. Thyra felt the silent whisper shake as the cables went taut. "All hands, brace for acceleration," Santos commanded. The human ship's engines exploded. With light and power. The force was incredible, pressing the Nexari crew into their seats as the Titan's hammer began to drag them away from the black hole. The gravitational forces fought back, creating stresses that made both ships groan and shake. For long minutes, it seemed as though the black hole would win. The Nexari watched their instruments, calculating the impossible forces at work. No ship should have been able to generate enough power to escape from where they'd been trapped. But the humans weren't giving up. If anything, their engines burned brighter, their determination somehow translating into raw power. Thyra could hear Captain Santos over the communications, calmly giving orders to her crew as if they were performing a routine maneuver instead. OF, defying the laws of physics. "Come on, you beautiful monster," Santos muttered, and Thyra realized she was talking to her ship. Show this black hole what Earth engineering can do. Slowly, impossibly, they began to move away from the event. Horizon. The black hole's grip loosened as the human ship's engines overcame the gravitational forces through sheer, stubborn power. The Nexari watched in amazement as their certain death became merely a memory. "We're clear," Santos announced triumphantly. Silent whisper, "You are now in stable orbit." "How's everyone doing over there?" Thyra realized she was shaking. Not from fear this time, but from awe. These humans, these supposed savages, had just performed the impossible to save complete strangers. "We're alive," she managed to say. "Captain Santos, I don't know how to thank you. What you just did should have been impossible." "Impossible is just Tuesday for us," Santos replied with obvious amusement. "We'd like to come aboard and check on your crew, make sure everyone's okay. Would that be acceptable?" Dr. Kess looked terrified at the prospect of humans boarding their ship, but Thyra nodded. "You're welcome aboard, Captain. After what you've done for us, you're welcome anywhere." As the Nexari crew prepared to meet their saviors, Thyra reflected on everything they'd been told about humans. Perhaps it was time to reconsider those stories. Anyone who would risk their lives to save strangers couldn't be the monsters the galaxy believed them to be. The airlock cycled, and Captain Maria Santos stepped aboard the Silent Whisper. She was smaller than Thyra had expected, but there was something about her that radiated confidence and strength. Her skin was dark, her hair was tied back in a practical style, and her eyes held a warmth that surprised the Nexari captain. "Captain Thyra?" Santos extended her hand in what Thyra recognized as a human greeting gesture. "It's an honor to meet you. Are you and your crew injured?" Thyra carefully took the human's hand, surprised by its warmth and the gentleness of the grip. "We're unharmed, thanks to you. Captain Santos, what you did today flying into a black hole's gravity, well to save strangers. I've never heard of anything like it." Santos shrugged. Someone sent out a distress call. That means they needed help. Simple as that. But you risked your lives, your ship, everything. "That's what we do," Santos said simply. "When someone calls Earth for help, we answer, always." As Thyra looked into the human captain's eyes, she realized that everything her people thought they knew about these so-called Deathworlders was wrong. They weren't monsters or savages. They were something far more extraordinary. They were heroes. Asterisk. The impossible rescue commander Jake Rodriguez stood at the tactical station of the Titan's hammer, his hands steady on the controls, despite the incredible forces still affecting their ship. The rescue of the Nexari vessel had been successful, but they weren't out of danger yet. The black hole's gravitational effects were still causing problems with both ships' systems. "Captain," He called to Maria Santos, who was still aboard. The silent whisper checking on the alien crew. We need to move to a safer distance. The gravity well is causing some unusual readings in our engine systems. Santos' voice came back through the comm system. Copy that, Jake. Give me 5 more minutes to finish the medical checks. Then we'll move both ships to a stable position. Dr. Kess watched the human commander work from across the Nexari bridge. The alien scientist had been studying human behavior since their rescue, and what he observed challenged everything he thought he knew about their species. Rodriguez moved with calm efficiency, his actions precise and calculated. There was no sign of the primitive aggression that galactic databases attributed to humans. Commander Rodriguez, Dr. Kess said carefully, may I ask you a question? Jake looked up from his instruments. Sure, Doc. What's on your mind? Your species has a reputation throughout the galaxy as being very. He paused, searching for diplomatic words. ... confrontational. Yet your actions today show remarkable restraint and compassion. How do you reconcile this contradiction? Jake considered the question seriously. I think maybe the galaxy has the wrong idea about us. Yeah, humans can be aggressive when we need to be. But that same drive that makes us good fighters also makes us good protectors. We don't fight because we like violence. We fight to defend the things we care about. But you didn't know us before today, Zara interjected from her engineering station. Why would you risk everything to save strangers? Because that's what decent people do, Jake replied simply. Doesn't matter if you're human, Nexari, or anything else. When someone needs help and you can provide it, you help. End of story. Doctor. Kess made notes on his portable recorder. This was fascinating data that would revolutionize how his people understood human psychology. But surely there must be limits to this behavior. What if helping someone put your own people at risk? Jake was quiet for a moment, considering. That's a tough question. But I think most humans would say that if you can save someone's life without getting your own people killed, you do it. We calculate the risks, sure, but we don't abandon people just because it's dangerous. On the silent whisper, Captain Santos finished her examination of the Nexari crew. Their species was remarkably different from humans, more delicate physically, but with incredibly advanced technology and what appeared to be a highly developed sense of ethics. She found herself impressed by their calm demeanor, even in the face of death. Your crew seems to be in good health, she told Captain Thyra. Though I have to say, I'm amazed by how calmly everyone handled the crisis. Most humans would have been panicking. Thyra tilted her head in curiosity. Panic? But panic clouds judgment and makes poor decisions more likely. Why would your people choose to panic? Maria laughed. We don't choose to panic. Fear is an instinctive response for us. It's part of how we survived on our world. Fear keeps us alert to danger. But we've learned to function despite fear, not in the absence of it. That's remarkable, Thyra said. To function while experiencing fear, that requires incredible mental discipline. Not really, Maria replied. It's just how we're built. Actually, I think your people's ability to remain calm is far more impressive. Natural peace of mind is a gift. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm from the Titan's hammer. Rodriguez's voice came over the comm, urgent but controlled. Captain, we've got a problem. I'm reading multiple ships approaching our position at high speed. Configuration unknown, but they're not broadcasting any identification signals. Maria's expression hardened instantly. I'm on my way back. Thyra, do you recognize the ship signatures? Captain. Gyra moved to her sensor station, her movements fluid despite the obvious stress. What she saw on the screens made her skin pale to almost white. Those are Corvin raiders, she said, her voice tight with fear. They're pirates who prey on research. Vessels like ours. It must have tracked us here. Pirates? Maria's tone was dangerous. How many ships? 5 vessels, all armed, Thyra replied. Captain Santos, you should leave immediately. Your ship saved us, but the Corvin are extremely aggressive. They'll attack anything they perceive as a threat. Maria was already moving toward the airlock. Jake, prep the ship for combat. All hands to battle stations. Wait, Thyra called after her. Captain, you don't understand. The Corvin are warriors. Violence is their culture. Your ship may be powerful, but you're outnumbered 5-1. Maria paused at the airlock. Ma'am, with respect, I don't think you understand. Nobody, and I mean nobody, threatens people under our protection. As Captain Santos returned to her ship, the Nexaray crew watched in amazement. They'd never seen anyone react to the Corvin threat with anything but fear. These pirates were known throughout this sector as ruthless killers who took what they wanted and destroyed what they couldn't use. Captain, Zara said quietly, perhaps we should prepare to surrender. The Corvin usually allow crews to live if they don't resist. No, Thyra said firmly. The humans saved our lives. We won't abandon them to face this threat alone. Aboard the Titan's hammer, the crew was already in full combat mode. Pilot Sarah Chun was at the helm, her hands dancing over the controls. As she maneuvered the ship into a defensive position, Weapons Officer Lieutenant Marcus Torres was bringing the ship's formidable arsenal online, while Engineer Patricia Kim rerouted power to shields and weapon systems. 5 ships incoming, Jake reported from Tactical. They're accelerating to attack speed. Acknowledged, Maria said, settling into her command chair. Sarah, put us between the raiders and the Nexari ship. Marcus, are weapons ready? All systems green, Captain. We're locked and loaded. The Corvin ships were sleek and predatory, built for speed and aggression. They spread out in an attack formation, clearly intending to overwhelm their targets through superior numbers. The lead ship opened communications. Human vessel. A harsh voice snarled through the speakers. You are interfering with our salvage operation. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Maria keyed the comm system. This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earth vessel Titan's Hammer. The ship you're targeting is under our protection. Turn around and leave, or we'll make you leave. Laughter echoed from the Corvin ship. 1 human ship against 5 Corvin raiders? You are either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Maria replied calmly. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to turn those ships around and fly away. If you don't, we're going to show you why humans are called Deathworlders. The Corvin response was immediate. All 5 ships opened fire simultaneously, their weapons targeting the Titan's hammer with ruthless precision. What happened next shocked everyone watching. The human ship didn't retreat or try to evade. Instead, it charged straight into the enemy formation, its shields blazing as they absorbed the incoming fire. Sarah Chun piloted the massive vessel like it was a fighter craft, spinning and weaving through the attack with impossible grace. Return fire, Maria commanded. The Titan's hammer's weapon systems erupted with devastating effect. Human military technology was built for one purpose, to end fights quickly and decisively. The first Corvin ship simply disintegrated under the concentrated fire, its shields and armor useless against the raw power of Earth's weapons. Holy stars, Zara whispered from the Silent Whispers bridge. Look at them fight. The remaining 4 Corvin ships tried to spread out, but the human ship was relentless. It pursued them with predatory efficiency, its weapons tracking and firing with mechanical precision. But it wasn't just the technology that was impressive. It was the coordination of the human crew. Sarah Chun anticipated the enemy's moves, positioning the ship perfectly for each attack. Marcus Torres fired with surgical precision, disabling ships rather than destroying them when possible. Patricia Kim managed the ship's power systems like a maestro conducting an orchestra, redirecting energy exactly where it was needed most. Within minutes, 3 of the Corvin ships were disabled and drifting. The remaining 2 raiders found themselves facing a choice: retreat or be destroyed. "Corvin vessels," Maria transmitted. "This is your final warning. Leave now or we'll finish what you started." The surviving pirates didn't need to be told twice. They fled at maximum speed, leaving their disabled comrades behind. "Should we pursue?" Jake asked. "Negative," Maria replied. "Our job is to protect the Nexari, not hunt pirates. But Jake, make sure those disabled ships get the message next time they try to prey on innocent people in this sector. We'll be less accommodating." Dr. Kess stared at his instruments in disbelief. The human ship had defeated 5 Corvin raiders in less than 10 minutes, and they'd done it while protecting the Silent Whisper. "Incredible," he murmured. "I've never seen anything like it." "Neither have I," Thyra admitted. The way they fought it wasn't savage or primitive. It was precise, controlled, almost artistic. Captain Santos returned to the Silent Whisper once the immediate danger had passed. She found the Nexaray crew still in a state of shock over what they'd witnessed. "Are you all right?" she asked Thyra. "Sorry about the excitement. Pirates are always a nuisance." "A nuisance?" Dr. Kess exclaimed. "Captain, you just defeated 5 Corvin raiders as if it were a routine training exercise." Maria shrugged. "It kind of was. My crew has been working together for years. We know each other's capabilities, and we trust each other completely. That makes all the difference in a fight." "But you were outnumbered," Zara pointed out. "Numbers don't always matter," Maria explained. "What matters is training, coordination, and determination." The Corvin were expecting easy prey. Instead, they found professionals who were willing to fight for what's right. Over the next few hours, as both ships made their way to a safer region of space, the Nexarari crew learned more about their human rescuers. They discovered that Earth's military was entirely volunteer-based people chose to serve, knowing they might be called upon to risk their lives for others. They learned about human concepts like honor, duty, and sacrifice. "Your people choose to put themselves in danger to protect others," Thyra said during one of their conversations, "even when those others are complete strangers from different species. This is not logical behavior." "Maybe not," Maria agreed, "but it's human behavior. We believe that some things are more important than personal safety. The right to live free from fear is one of those things." Dr. Kess had filled several data recorders with observations about human behavior. "Captain Santos, would it be possible for us to visit Earth? My people need to understand what we've learned here today." "You'd be welcome any time," Maria replied. "Though I should warn you, Earth might seem pretty chaotic compared to what you're used to. We're not as calm and orderly as your people." "Perhaps," Thyra said thoughtfully. "Chaos is not always a bad thing. Today we learned that sometimes it takes a little chaos to fight off the forces that would destroy peace." As the Silent Whisper and Titan's Hammer parted ways, both crews had been changed by their encounter. The Nexaray returned to their home world with stories of the gentle giants from Earth beings who were strong enough to fight monsters, but chose to use that strength to protect the innocent. The humans, meanwhile, had gained something equally valuable: the friendship and respect of one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. The Nexary's technological knowledge, combined with humanity's determination and courage, would prove to be a powerful alliance. Captain Santos stood on her bridge, watching the Nexaray ship disappear into the distance. "Think we'll see them again?" Jake asked. "I hope so," Maria replied. "The galaxy needs more people willing to help each other, regardless of species. Maybe that's humanity's real purpose out here, not to conquer or dominate, but to show everyone that we're stronger when we work together." The message that reached Earth several days later was simple but profound. The Nexari High Council, after reviewing Dr. Kess's reports, formally requested a cultural exchange program with humanity. They wanted to learn from the species that had redefined what it meant to be strong. And across the galaxy, word spread of the human ship that had charged into a black hole to save strangers, then stayed to fight off pirates who threatened those same strangers. The reputation of the Deathworlders began to shift, from feared savages to protectors of the innocent. When someone calls Earth for help, the message was clear: expect more than a casual response. Expect heroes, asterisk,